Hello and welcome to episode number 4 of the Probably Not Show, your source for movie reviews, news, everything in between and everything out of between. Today we are at the Lenox Hotel in Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Brendan Bigley.
I'm Marcel.
I'm Jacqueline, and today we are probably not in New Jersey.
But we are probably reviewing Warm Bodies. So, let's get into it.
Let's get warm.
Body.
That's dirty.
Warm Body!
Hello, today we are talking about Warm Bodies, the new film by Jonathan Levine, who is best known probably for his most recent film outing 50/50, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen. This film stars Nicholas Hoult and Teresa Palmer, John Malkovich, who is it? Dave Franco shows up for a little bit, and Rob Corddry also.
Anna Lay something or other.
From American
Next
Next
Top Model. What I know her from.
But yeah, the movie is basically about Nicholas Hoult, who plays a zombie who falls in love with Teresa Palmer, and the change that occurs when that happens. It's a very interesting concept. It's just a new spin on zombie movies, I guess you could say. You know, it's something that's never really been done before. And the question, I think, going into it was, can that carry an entire movie? So, Marcel, can that carry an entire movie? Can it atlas the whole movie?
It worked. It worked for me. I liked it. I did. I did go in there like I pictured it more as a comedy than I did as a romantic comedy though.
Yeah, they're really pitching as a comedy.
Yeah, it was pitched more so as a comedy, and then for me that already set a precedent where I was like, oh, this is going to be compared to Zombieland for me.
Oh yeah.
And it's probably going to be compared to Zombieland for a lot of people, and I was like, that
didn't even occur to me actually.
It didn't occur to me either because the twist, it's not a twist, but I mean the premise is so different because the zombies are have personalities and
I just find like
an active part.
it was a recent zombie comedy movie, and like it's like it's going to be compared. At least I thought it was.
Sure.
And for me, I guess I set the standard high because I really liked Zombieland.
Right.
I definitely dug it, but it wasn't like it's not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But it is a cool concept. I do like it, and I feel like that could be used more often. I think it's cool to have like that premise of like, you know, what most zombies just end like there's no cure, we can't find the cure just makes it worse, you know.
Yeah.
And to have something like a natural cure,
right,
it just seems like more organic.
But do you think that anyone who tries to do that from now on will just be labeled like you're copying Warm Bodies, or like if you do a movie or even write anything from the point of view of the zombie, is that like just copying Warm Bodies at this point?
I think it's got.
I mean, but just think about any zombie movie to begin with. It's all drawn from like the same structure, and you just have to riff on a new concept.
I guess. Jacqueline?
But none of them have taken the side, I think, of the zombie ever.
Yeah.
I will say this didn't work for me. I sort of knew going in, I had kind of a bad feeling about it, and then within the first 5 minutes, I had a feeling like, alright, like this is better than I expected, this might work.
Okay.
There's a lot of little things I liked in the intro.
Yeah.
And then it felt very, very flat for me. It was, at worst, bland and sort of, pointless, I guess.
Harsh.
I mean, I will say there were little moments that I liked very much. There were some pieces of dialogue, there were some scenes that I enjoyed, but overall, I wasn't so into this.
I honestly found it quirky enough to hold its own throughout the movie. I mean, there weren't really any standout people in it for me though, but I did find like it was quirky enough that I was like, you know, I'm still into it even towards the end.
Right.
I will say that my main problem probably was that you had to depend on the chemistry between the two characters, and that's very hard to do when one of your main characters is dead.
I guess, yeah, because you're just watching this progression, you know.
Because it then fell totally on Julie to hold down, and I don't think that she quite could.
Right. Because
there was only so much that R could do, because he is undead.
Yeah. Well, I will say that this is probably the most decent movie I've seen this year so far, and will probably be the most decent movie that I'll see for a while. It starts off with this great monologue of Nicholas Hoult just talking about what it's like to be a zombie, and he's walking through an airport. Actually, the first 5 minutes is online somewhere, you can find it. They just released the first 5 minutes of the movie, so you can see what we're talking about. But watching that monologue, I was just not into it at all. I wasn't into it at all. I was just like, oh, they took a great concept and just kind of run into the ground. But the movie kind of redeems itself every once in a while. There's like great moments that happen
Yeah.
amidst like them trying to be the most hipster movie that they could possibly be ever.
Oh.
It's like he loves vinyl records
Right.
and plays vinyl all the time.
Polaroids
And like the M83 songs that are playing,
Right.
and it's just like every song that they pick. First of all, great soundtrack.
Yeah, Dylan, Bon Iver, The National, I think at the end.
Yeah, but every song that plays is like you
like-
could just go onto like r/music on
Outfitters.
Reddit, and, yeah, or Urban Outfitters, and just like that's what you'd be hearing throughout the whole movie. I will say that Teresa Palmer puts on her best Kristen Stewart impression.
Oh my god! Literally, what I was saying throughout the
Yeah.
entire movie, I was like, she literally just looked like Kristen Stewart.
She's just
in
Kristen
shot.
Stewart, and I don't think that she should have done that. Honestly,
I do feel like she was a really weak part of the film.
Yeah.
Like her performance was pretty disappointing because
Actually, I don't really agree with that entirely. I think that the moments when she wasn't being Kristen Stewart were her best moments in the whole movie.
but I feel like there were a lot of Kristen Stewart moments.
Yeah, it's mostly
there was a lot
yeah.
of like
even the way like they dressed her,
faces.
even
Yeah.
like the costume design.
There were shots in which she just like if you looked at her face, she was pale enough and then just looked
Exactly.
like Kristen Stewart. It was mind-boggling.
It's kind of really weird, and you can't really get that out of your head.
I thought they were sisters. Like I really.
Yeah, honestly, there was a point because I didn't know her name going into it, so I was like, "Am I gonna go on IMDb later and find out that her last name is Stewart? Like, is that gonna happen?" And I just like, I thought that was interesting. John Malkovich kind of doesn't put on a great performance.
Oh, I like John Malkovich.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I generally love John Malkovich. Anything he's in,
Right.
I'm just sold on it.
I feel like the John Malkovich scenes were the only scenes where I was in it and convinced. I very much almost lost myself
Yeah.
in how much I enjoyed the John Malkovich scenes. I think that was a part of it that really worked for me.
There was one moment when he's supposed to be showing like genuine affection towards his daughter, and it was so like it didn't make sense with his character. His characterization didn't make sense for him to be so loving of his daughter, and it really didn't make sense. And I just didn't enjoy that
Yeah,
at
'cause
all.
throughout the
It came
film,
off
they
as
are-
very weird.
I feel there were a lot of continuity issues just in general in the
Yeah.
whole film, like what the zombies.
If I say
were
the
capable
flashlight, do you know what I'm
of.
talking about, continuity wise?
The flashlight.
No, okay.
What do you mean?
There's just a moment when a flashlight appears, and it was the biggest continuity issue in the entire movie for me. But that's all I'll say.
I felt there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
That took me out of it so many times where I would be watching it and thinking,
Yeah.
wait, is this, how did that happen? What's going on?
Oh,
I
let
don't
me
remember
backpedal.
that.
I did okay. If anyone did stand out for me, I did like Nicholas Hoult a lot. Actually, I think I really liked a lot of.
Yeah.
I really liked a lot of voiceover narrative stuff. You know, I really thought that was really well done.
I just didn't like the intro monologue that he did. I thought that most of the performance that he gave was actually pretty good, especially considering you're supposed to be seeing this progression of him turning more into a person from a zombie, and the way that he conveys that throughout the whole movie is actually pretty good.
And this was my drawback to Zombieland, where the voiceover kind of things, like
Yeah.
a lot of like the nailed it. I was like Jesse Eisenberg. That's Zombieland.
Yeah. It was good though. It worked. I didn't expect it to work. Oh my god, I just want to mention really quick. There's so many great references to so many great movies. There's an awesome Ferris Bueller moment that happens, and I don't know if you guys caught
I
it.
don't think I caught it.
But they're in the plane, and he does a Charlie Sheen, and you'll know what I mean if you love Ferris Bueller as much as I do. They reference what was it? 28 Days Later with the infected monkey. I thought that was great. Just like it's just so good, and it just really is almost like a love letter to like the whole genre of zombie movies, while also making its own kind of like offshoot of the whole entire genre. Honestly, I don't think that it really worked for me entirely. It's a movie with great moments, but it's not a great movie. That's how I feel about it.
I would have enjoyed this, I think, were it a short film. I think
Yeah,
there are parts that
I
could have
totally
been
agree.
cut out
Yeah.
that would have made this an excellent short film,
Yeah,
but I don't think that it can hold itself down for as
yeah,
long as the movie is.
It definitely could have been stronger, but I find it's pretty decent.
yeah,
I mean, I could dig it.
yeah. The one last thing that I will say is the comedic moments don't fall flat at all. The comedic moments are actually really funny. And I think that is to its credit, because I didn't expect that, honestly. Especially after the opening monologue, when everyone else in the theater was laughing, and I was like, I don't really like
that's
this.
like one of the biggest things for me. Like I tend to not watch movies in big crowds.
Yeah.
And to watching a movie with like a full house
Yeah.
was definitely like a good part of that. Where it really drew you in. Like it was like that. It made it laugh out loud funny for me.
Yeah,
But when it took itself too seriously, it was a disaster.
yeah, it
I
kind of
think.
was. I completely agree. So, Jacqueline, what do you think?
Probably not.
Probably not see it in theaters. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with that. I'm gonna say probably not. Wait for it, or don't see it at all.
Yeah, I would probably not it too. But I would say like if you can catch it, like if you were in a hotel and like they screen it earlier before they put it on DVD, you'd have to pay for that. But still.
Yeah, I would say. Well, I would say don't spend the ticket money on it because that's what you're gonna pay for in a
Yes.
hotel or when
And
it's on
then
demand.
disregard that and then just wait for it.
Yeah. So
Or
we
box
have
it.
3 probably nots here. I don't know. It was a cool idea. I don't think it could carry the whole film though. Didn't Atlas the movie.
It's cool. I think it can be done a lot better eventually,
I think so too.
and I'd like to see that happen.
I'll be excited for the remake in 20 years. Just one more thing, I really thought that this was a sequel to Skins, and that his name didn't start with R, and that his name was Tony the whole time. So yeah, so that's our review of Warm Bodies. So yeah, hey, you have a good night, or day, or whenever you're watching this.
Or all around.